Hello, Ali from Ali Stitch Fingers here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make the Bobby card wallet. Basically, it's a small wallet that can fit inside your purse or your bag, and it's intended for putting your store cards in and things like that, or receipts or whatever. So it's not wadded or anything. It's only a small wallet, and it's quite easy to make. Excuse me a second, I'm just putting my bobbin on because it's been playing up a little bit. So let's check that's the right one. Yep. So what I'm going to do is, I've already got one of the card slots done. I'm going to show you on the other one. I've cut a piece of freezer paper to the same side as the card slots that are in the instructions. And I've ironed that onto the fabric that I'm going to be concertinaing up. It is a lovely quick project, but this is quite a lot of measurement. So what I recommend you to do is to put the marks onto your piece of paper and keep that with your pattern for future use. So the best thing I found is freezer paper, and I've ironed it to the back because it does actually, or either to the right side of it, but it doesn't matter which way. So this is going to enable me to keep the folds in the right place. So the first one at this side is a valley fold, and I'll tell you that in the instructions. So what I'm going to do is crease on that line there. So I'm just going to fold that up. Make sure the sides, let's see if you can see, make sure the sides are level. That's in these sides, so that you know that it's going to be a straight line. So I folded that on the line and pressed. Now the next one is a mountain, so that means the fold goes down like so. So I'm just going to press that one, make sure the sides are level again, and so you can see how that's going. So the next one is going to be a valley, which is going to go up, press, and the next one is a down, because I've swapped it around, and then up, press, and down. There we go. So you can see it's quite warm. You've got the slots all neatly done for you, and they will all fall into place now because they're nicely pressed. So we're going to take that freezer paper off. It won't damage your fabric, just comes off. You can put that back into your folder with your pattern and keep that for future use. So, right, so I'm not going to interface this at the moment, but I'm just going to make those folds fall into the correct place. And on the very edge here, where the folds are, so there's one there, then there's the next one, and then the next one, and then that is the seam you join together. I'm going to just stitch right on the very top of those folds to make the card slots nice and crisp. So I'm using a jumper thread because it doesn't like to sew on nothing. I don't think many machines do. So I'll be starting onto some fabric, and then when you get to the edge of the fabric, go straight onto your fold and stitch across. So it's about 1/8 of an inch from the fold there, you can just see on the top. So I'm going to move that one out of the way, take the next fold, start stitching on the spare bit of scrap, and straight onto your piece. Take that out, start to stitch again, and on the last one onto the card slot there. Cut the jumper thread off. So now those card slots will all fall into place, and I'm just going to give them a nice press on here. There we go. So I've already done the other side to save a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do is place them together so that from this side the card slots go in there, and from the other side they're going in from the opposite direction. So place those right sides together, and we're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch, or whatever it says in the instructions, I'm not sure, down that side there to join them both together. Oops. So I've back tacked at the beginning and the end, and now I need to lay this open and press that seam open in the centre. You can't see there, so I'll just pull it towards me. So just opening that centre seam and getting the little bit of the iron in there to press that open. So that is the card slots done. So now make sure they're all nice and flat. I'm going to take the interfacing that is in the kit. We're going to place that over the top. You do get too much, so I'm going to cut that little bit off. It's a nice woven interfacing, so it gives you a nice job. And I will trim down the side as well, just to make sure I'm not going to get it stuck to my iron. There we go. Trim the excess off. Turn it back over, and we're just going to press that to the back of the card slots, and it keeps it all nice in place and just gives it a little bit of extra body. There we go. Make sure it's nicely fused, so turn it over and just fuse from the front as well. Nice quick project, nice for gifts and fairs and things like that. So that is the card slots done. They just fold together as such. So now what we need to do is put the front of the wallet on, which I'm using this lovely cork. So we're going to place those right sides together, cut off the excess. It's a little bit big. There we go. And we're going to stitch all the way around the edge of this to hold those layers together. If you wanted it a bit stiffer, you could use a stiffer interfacing on the cork. I actually think it's fine. I didn't want it to be too thick. Just going to use my stiletto to make sure all the edges stay down nice and flat. If you need to trim it off before you put the binding on, do so. Or if you want to have a tighter fit for your cards. So we've just stitched all the way around the edge to hold all those layers together. And now we're going to put the binding on. So the binding opens out, and on that seam there where it folds out, we're going to stitch this onto the wallet. So I'm going to fold back about 1 centimetre at the beginning, and following that fold line, we're just going to stitch until we're about 1/4 of an inch away from the corner. So when you get to 1/4 of an inch away from the corner, we're going to stitch off at an angle. So if you can see, we've stitched up to that corner, then we stitched off at that angle, and you're going to pull the, make sure it's open, pull the binding up like that, hold that in place, and then bring the binding back down. I'll just open it out again, hang on. Put it down flat a little, make it easier. So we're going to put the binding up so it forms a diagonal line against the stitches as such. Hold that in position and then bring the binding back down level with this side, and we're going to carry on stitching along that fold there. So I have to do it back to front, but I think you could see that. And you're going to do that on all the corners. So stitch off at an angle, open the binding out, bring the binding up level with those stitches that you stitched, so you've got an angle. Hold your finger there and bring it back down, level with the side seam, and carry on stitching. Repeat about all the 4 corners. Off at the corner. Bring it up one last time, level with the corner, and carry on stitching. So this is the last piece, so what we need to do is cut it off, overlapping about a couple of centimetres, something like that, and we're just going to sew over the top of where we started. So you see, this is where we started. We're just going to sew straight over the top. These corners should form a little bit of triangle of fabric there. This is all going to get flipped to the opposite side and stitched down. Now if you want to hand stitch it, you can do. I'm going to do it by machine, but you might find it easier to trim a little bit of this excess off here, just the bits of trimming. The aim is to bring the binding over to the right side so that you can't see the stitches. So I'll see if I can get that done. I will just give a little bit of a trim. A lot of people prefer to finish off by hand, and if you have the time, I do think it gives a lovely job. So I'm just going to bring the binding over those stitches. Again, a stiletto really helps with this. It's a very narrow binding, this one. So just hold the binding in place and cover those stitches. Form a mite at the corner. There we go, just covering it up as we go. If you get any bits of thread, just trim those off as well. It just makes it a little bit easier. If you want to hang a little loop onto it, you need to add a loop into the binding before you stitch it all down. So you could do that with just a bit of thread or a ribbon. That'd be nice. And then you can hang it into a pocket. It is very narrow, this binding at this point. Coming up to the last corner. Oh no, it's not, there's 2 more corners. So just form the mitre And that's basically just tucking in the corner and folding the two sides in. This is the bit you want to take your time with because you do want it to look nice and neat. Just using the stiletto to make sure the binding stays where I want it. I'm just going to trim a little bit off because it's a bit thicker yet. It just makes it that bit easier. That's better. You want all the little bits to be tucked in. And we're back to where we started, so we need to make sure that the two edges are covered up as one. Which is a lot easier when you've got a stiletto. Nearly done. Last corner coming up. So again, it's a lovely quick project. Sometimes you just want something quick and easy. Perfect for gift tokens as well. Not gift tokens, gift cards. I'm just tucking that corner in to make it nice and neat. There we go. Back tap when you get to the place you started. Now the best thing I find to do is to just fold along the crease there and just give it a squash just to make it keep that little bit of memory, and that is your card wallet ready for putting your store cards in and keeping them nice and secure. So there we go, that is the Bobby card wallet, and if anybody wants to have a go at making these, everything's available from my website, alicestitchfingers.co.uk. Thanks for watching, bye.